It only takes a fleeting glance in passing, and this waitress is marked for death.
Excuse me. Have we met before?
But she isn't truly a waitress. She is actually a CIA agent working undercover at the hotel. And this bald man, known as the albino, isn't an ordinary guest either. He's a notorious arms dealer, here today for a major transaction. As a fugitive, the albino has developed a photographic memory.
Yeah. We met in Karachi last April. But then you were working as a cocktail waitress.
Just 2 weeks ago, he saw this woman in Karachi. Back then, she was working as a bartender. Now, seeing her again in the same role at the deal's location, it's not hard for him to figure out her true identity and intentions. In the next scene, the woman is already dying, limp in his grasp. The albino pries open the elevator doors, presses a button to activate the lift, and places her head directly over the elevator shaft. But the albino is just the tip of the iceberg. His boss, the true mastermind, has been the CIA's primary target for over a decade, the Wolf. For the past decade, the Wolf has profited from the illegal trade of radioactive materials and high-grade weapons, posing a significant threat to U.S. national security. Yet no one has ever seen his face. His transactions are always handled by his trusted associate, the albino. But this time, the CIA has received intel that the Wolf will personally appear at an upcoming arms deal with Serbian buyers, making it a rare and critical opportunity.
Your target is the Wolf. Find him and eliminate him.
Yes, sir.
Agent Vivi DeLay is assigned a high-priority mission to track down and eliminate the elusive Wolf. Meanwhile, the CIA has secured the transaction site, a luxury hotel in Paris, and has dispatched a team of undercover agents who infiltrate the hotel disguised as guests and hotel staff, carefully monitoring every movement. The operation on the ground is led by veteran agent Ethan, an experienced field operative known for his precision, calm under pressure, and a long record of success. Despite his deteriorating health, Ethan remains one of the agency's most reliable assets.
I'm thinking of calling in sick.
Come on, you haven't had a sick day in 32 years.
In the meantime, the buyers have already been taken out by Ethan and then blending into the crowd to make contact with the albino, clearing the way for the albino to walk straight into the trap. Soon, the albino arrives at the hotel with his entourage. Ethan, remaining composed, discreetly receives a scanner from Agent Yasmin disguised as hotel waitress. Moving smoothly through the crowd, he subtly bumps into the albino's briefcase, successfully copying the data hidden inside, likely a set of access codes for weapons delivery or missile guidance systems. He then passes it to the tech team to verify if it contains any biochemical weapon data. Just as Ethan is about to regroup with the others, he suddenly receives an unexpected message from his wife.
Got a payphone outside, you got 5 minutes.
Hoping to mend their strained relationship, he rushes to a nearby newsstand, trades his watch for some coins, and makes a call from a public phone to his daughter, Zoe. It's her birthday, and he hasn't spoken to her in months.
You didn't forget, which means you probably love me.
Of course I do, Zoe.
But the conversation is cold and distant. Their relationship is clearly strained. And when Zoe realizes Ethan is still caught up in work, even on her birthday, she hangs up without hesitation.
Sweetheart, but I'm at work.
You can leave a message after the beep.
At that exact moment, Yasmin makes the mistake of glancing a moment too long at the albino. He immediately catches on and alerts the elusive figure known only as the Wolf, hidden nearby, to retreat. Just as the agents confirm that the briefcase indeed contains a dirty bomb,
We got confirmation.
That's the dirty bomb.
and prepare to move in, the albino's men waiting outside unleash heavy weapons, catching the perimeter agents completely off guard. At that very moment, Ethan, still by the phone booth, sees his fellow agents springing into action. Hanging up immediately, he charges toward a speeding vehicle, launching himself through the door and taking out the bald-headed thugs inside in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, the albino storms into the hotel lobby, engaging in a fierce gunfight with CIA agents stationed there. After a brutal skirmish, nearly all the agents are taken out. Just as Ethan is about to storm the lobby, the albino triggers a bomb planted on the top floor. The deafening blast sends Ethan flying, briefly knocking him unconscious. From a distant rooftop, Vivi watches the scene unfold through binoculars, failing to spot any trace of the mysterious Wolf. Miraculously, a few of the criminals emerge from the explosion unscathed. As Ethan regains consciousness, the terrorists eliminate the remaining agents and break through a window to escape via the second-floor balcony. Ethan quickly regains his senses, identifies their positions through the shadows, and starts firing. As his bullets take out enemy after enemy, a fierce shootout ensues. Only the albino is left, crawling for cover beside a car. Cornered, he has no choice but to flee. But just then, Ethan's magazine is empty. The albino seizes the chance and escapes. Without missing a beat, Ethan reloads and gives chase. However, just as he's closing the distance, his body suddenly collapses into overwhelming exhaustion. Still, with the last of his strength, he fires a single shot, hitting the albino in the leg and bringing him down. And then, everything goes black. Ethan collapses. When he wakes up, he's in a hospital bed. The diagnosis hits like a thunderclap. Late-stage brain cancer, already spread to his lungs. The doctors give him no more than 3 to 5 months.
Well, Christmas is here. I'm afraid not.
He might not even make it to Christmas. Ethan is devastated. Though he'd suspected something was wrong, the finality still weighs heavy. What's worse, upon hearing the news, the CIA coldly terminates his employment.
We need to terminate our relationship. The CIA thanks you for your service.
No gratitude, no courtesy. Just a so-called early retirement, a meager pension, and a cheap watch. With his days numbered, Ethan finds some clarity. The only thing he regrets is his broken family. So he returns to Paris hoping to reconcile. But when he gets back to his old apartment, he finds it occupied by a stranger.
I live here.
Which floor?
No, I mean, I live here.
Jules, a black man, living there with his family. Furious, Ethan calls the police, only to learn the law is not on his side.
I'm afraid there is nothing you can do until the 30th of April.
That's months from now.
If a property is left vacant too long, especially in winter, the government allows undocumented immigrants like Jules to take temporary shelter. If Ethan tries to force them out, he could be arrested. They have winter protection.
Because then you will go to jail for breaking the law.
He has no choice but to share the apartment, at least until spring. Ethan takes out his gun in front of Jules. But when seeing Jules's pregnant daughter, he feels a pang of mercy, saying he can stay until his daughter gives birth.
You don't have to go yet, Jules, at least not until your daughter has her baby.
However, he sternly warns that once the baby is born, they must move out immediately. That night, Ethan watches old home videos of Zoe as a child. Nostalgia washes over him. He longs to return to those happier times, but he knows he's the one who ruined it all. The next day, Ethan finds his ex-wife Tina while she's out with friends. At first, she's reluctant to talk.
I'm exceptionally busy, so unless it's urgent.
Until he tells her it's urgent. He hands her the account he once opened to save for Zoe's college tuition and quietly informs her of his condition. They go together to sign his will. He begs her not to tell Zoe he's dying. He doesn't want her to suffer again.
I don't want Zoe to know. At least not right away.
Back then, Ethan put the mission above everything, ignoring his wife and daughter completely. That's what tore the family apart. Tina still resents him, but deep down, she still cares. Learning that Ethan doesn't have long left, she's visibly shaken. She understands that he wants to see Zoe one last time.
I'll let you see her under one condition. Are you really done working for them?
Yes.
Only after confirming he no longer works for the CIA does she agree to arrange a meeting. The two of them go meet Zoe at her school. After years apart, their reunion is awkward and tense.
So you want me to call you Dad, or should I just call you Ethan?
Zoe calls him by his first name. A handsome older boy comes over and she introduces him as Hugh. He politely greets Ethan, but is clearly unsure. When Hugh leaves, Ethan gives Zoe a purple bicycle, thinking it's still her favorite color.
Yeah, it's your favorite color.
Right, when I was like 9.
But she opts to take the metro with her friends instead, leaving him behind with the bike. It's clear, a childhood gift can't fix years of absence. After Zoe leaves, Ethan decides to cook dinner for her, hoping to win her over. While shopping for ingredients, he runs into Vivi. Ethan doesn't recognize her and shows no interest in her advances.
Just running into you, Vivi, but not interested.
But just as he turns to leave, Vivi calls Zoe by name.
So today is Zoe's lucky day.
And pulls out the watch he had traded at the newsstand. She knows everything. about his past, about his illness. Realizing she's no ordinary stranger, Ethan reluctantly gets into her car. There, Vivi reveals her identity and why she sought him out.
I work for the director of the CIA. I was looking for the wolf.
During the last mission, she wasn't able to confirm the wolf's identity, but she knows he was at the hotel. And since Ethan was the only survivor, he may be the only person alive who has seen the wolf's face.
And I'm willing to bet that when you see him again, you'll recognize him.
She wants him back in action, to hunt him down. In return, she offers him a lifeline, a new experimental medicine that could prolong his life. It's still in the trial phase.
Don't you think Zoe deserves to have her daddy around for more than just a few measly months?
But Ethan has nothing to lose. If it buys him time, he might still reclaim what he lost. They strike a deal. Vivi immediately puts him to the test. Track down Albino's accountant. She takes Ethan to a hotel to find a man who can lead them to the accountant. For a veteran agent like Ethan, these low-level thugs are hardly a challenge. He quickly takes out 3 of the guards with ruthless efficiency. By the time Vivi steps in, stopwatch in hand, the job is already done. The accountant isn't there, but Ethan has proven himself. Soon after, they get intel on Albino's driver. In the lift, she personally injects the medicine into Ethan's system and promises generous security for his daughter's future. But Ethan makes one demand: a $500,000 salary and a $1 million life insurance policy.
I'm gonna need a significant raise. I want to leave my daughter more than just my shit pension.
He doesn't know if the medicine will work, but he intends to secure a future for Zoe.
I'll take it.
Given that he might be the only one who can recognize the wolf, Vivi has no choice but to agree. We see the albino meeting up with a man. He gives this man a photo of Ethan to keep on him. Meanwhile, thanks to his fatherly instincts and genuine care, Ethan begins to patch things up with his daughter Zoe. Ethan goes to Zoe and Tina's apartment and hears Zoe scream. Thinking she's in danger, he breaks the doorknob and bursts in, only to find her distressed over a bad haircut.
It's like a freaking cheetah pet.
Looks, awesome.
Tina is furious because Ethan promised to cook dinner, but is 3 hours late. She's flying to London for a business trip the next day and insists on calling a sitter for Zoe, as she refuses to leave their daughter in his care.
You can't handle dinner. How are you gonna handle a teenager?
How about I just diffuse a major meltdown? Her hair, okay?
But Ethan begs to be given a chance to look after her himself. In a panic, he explains that he had gone to a hospital to receive an experimental medicine meant to extend his life. Only then does she reluctantly agree. However, the medicine is still in the testing phase, and that night, Ethan suffers side effects: racing heartbeat, blinding headaches. Desperate, he calls Vivi.
Vodka.
It'll take the edge off.
It works. The next morning, with Tina gone, Ethan now has 3 precious days alone with Zoe. Zoe walks in wearing a bright red wig. She notices Vivi's call on Ethan's phone, and he tells her it's his boss. In response, she sets the ringtone for her number to I Don't Care by Icona Pop.
There. Welcome to the century.
Once again, Ethan tries to get Zoe to ride her bike to school, but she insists on walking and drops the wig. Vivi clearly won't let him sit idle. Seeing Zoe slowly forgive him, Ethan knows it's time to finish the job. No sooner has he dropped her off than Vivi finds him, handing him a $150,000 advance check. Ethan immediately hops into her car. Using intel Vivi provided, Ethan quickly tracks down his next target, Mitat, the owner of a luxury car rental company. The wolf and his accountant frequently use Mitat's services, so he may lead them to the accountant. Ethan heads to the dealership. Seeing Ethan dressed in tattered clothing, Mitat's employees insult him.
So you understand we are a luxury car service, right?
Yeah.
But they ultimately get knocked out by Ethan. Then, Ethan calmly waits in his office. When Mitat returns, Ethan threatens him with his family.
These are girls in the picture?
How dare you look at them?
And takes him back to his apartment. At the apartment, Ethan begins interrogating Mitat using duct tape to rip armpit hair, electric shocks, and more, until a call from Zoe's school interrupts, asking him to meet the principal. At the school, Ethan learns Zoe punched a classmate. The principal reprimands Zoe for using violence at school, but to her surprise, Ethan believes violence must have served a purpose and doesn't scold Zoe.
From my experience, anger, frustration, insult, they all call for different responses.
Outside the school, Ethan tells her it's an effective way to deal with bullies. In the car, Zoe explains the girl was bullying a Pakistani student, so she taught that girl a lesson, expecting Ethan to guide her like a normal father would. But to her surprise, Ethan thinks she did the right thing.
I feel really bad.
Well, don't. Because sometimes it's the only way to stop a bad guy.
Which makes Joey resent Ethan's violent behavior. When Matat makes a ruckus from the trunk, Ethan opens it, punches him, and tells him to shut up. Joey senses Ethan's dismissiveness and angrily chooses to take the metro home. Ethan continues interrogating Matat, dragging him to the riverside and using electric shocks. Just then, Joey calls to apologize for her earlier behavior.
Sorry about earlier.
And asked Ethan to meet her that afternoon at the childhood amusement park they used to frequent. Meanwhile, eventually, Matat reveals the accountant's whereabouts. Ethan spares Matat's life, not just because he has daughters too, but also because Ethan, weakened by illness, is no longer as cold-blooded. Later, Ethan waits at a hotel and spots the accountant. Just as he's about to storm in, his daughter calls, reminds him that he is already late.
It's 3:40, Ethan. Where are you?
For Ethan, everything he's doing is to spend more time with Zoe. Without hesitation, he abandons the mission and spends a beautiful afternoon with her. But Zoe doesn't stay long. She says she's heading to a Russian classmate's birthday party. Ethan, unaware of the lie, happily updates Tina via voicemail about the progress he's made with Zoe. Just as Ethan continues to pursue the accountant, a hired assassin ambushes him inside a convenience store. A fierce fight breaks out. Fortunately, Ethan's habit of always wearing a bulletproof vest saves him from certain death. Despite nearing exhaustion, he manages to kill the elite assassin, who was sent by the albino to avenge their earlier encounter. Seeing his own photo in the assassin's pocket confirms it. This was a hit job. Upon returning home, Ethan finds a message from Tina, revealing Zoe doesn't have any Russian classmates.
I've never heard of her nor her Russian parents.
Coupled with the memory of the recent attack, Ethan grows uneasy. On Zoe's computer, he finds a message referencing a nightclub and rushes over. The place is shady and chaotic, heightening his concern. He spots Zoe's backpack in a car outside, but can't find her. Only a card with a spiderweb design. Clueless about the underground youth culture, he remembers Maidet has daughters around Zoe's age and rushes to his house for help.
Never involve family. This isn't a business meeting, Mitat.
Maidet and his wife firmly believe their obedient daughter knows nothing.
They are good girls. They do not party.
But to their great shock, their daughter tells Ethan,
Let's go out.
How'd you know that?
Inside the club, the loud noise triggers more side effects from the experimental medicine. Dizzy spells, blurred vision. Ethan glimpses someone dragging his daughter away. Fortunately, alcohol is everywhere. He takes a few gulps, recovers enough strength, and charges in. Zoe, medicined by a group of thugs, is taken into the restroom. As they start touching her, Ethan hears her cries and snaps. Though briefly held back by one of the boys, he switches into full-on Papa Wolf mode, taking down the whole group and carrying Zoe to safety. The next morning, Zoe wakes up with the medicine's effects worn off. She's still wearing her party dress, about to head to school. But Ethan stops her. They argue fiercely. When Zoe lets slip that she doesn't even know how to ride a bike,
What kind of kid doesn't know how to ride a bike?
Kind of kid who never had a father to teach her.
Zoe explodes. Other dads taught their kids to ride. Where was he? Ethan, ashamed, changes his attitude. He spends the morning teaching Zoe how to ride. Applauded by passersby, she finally succeeds. Zoe, with tears in her eyes, asks why he had been gone for so long. Until now, she had suspected he started a new family and forgot about her and her mom.
Do you have another family? Is that what it is? Do you have another
that's
perfect daughter somewhere? Did you see me and not want me? Do you not love me?
No, sweetheart, that's not it.
Once Ethan denies this, she finally opens up to him. Zoe confesses she hit the girl at school because the girl was flirting with Hugh. Soon after, they run into Hugh, who is taking Zoe to school. With their relationship finally mending, Ethan turns back to his mission. Ethan tracks down Matat again, who has become familiar with his kidnapping routine.
I need to pick up my girls at 4:30. I can't promise, but I'll make an effort.
He gets the location of the accountant, Guido. He straps a bomb to his ankle, grabs the bike he bought for Zoe, and zips through the streets of Paris. When the traffic light ahead turns red, he seizes the opportunity, riding alongside Guido's vehicle, bending the side mirror to provoke the driver to roll down the window. Then he plants the mini bomb under the car and tosses in a smoke grenade. Wearing a gas mask, Ethan hijacks the car. He yanks the driver out, and by the time the bodyguards react, Ethan is already inside. Gunfire rains down, but he keeps driving. When the guards get into their car to chase him, the bomb explodes, disabling their vehicle. Ethan escapes with Guido, completing another flawless mission. Ethan brings Guido to his apartment. In Mitat's briefcase lies the albino's bank account info, but the lock is rigged to explode if tampered with.
But after I give it to you, you will kill me.
No, but I swear to God, I'm gonna really torture you if you make me count to 3.
No.
Luckily, the timid accountant cracks under pressure and gives up the password without Ethan having to lay a finger on him. Just when tension is high, Zoe calls, asking Ethan how to make Italian sauce for a special dinner with Hugh.
Sweetie, it just so happens I'm in a meeting here with the real live Italian. His mama has a great recipe.
Guido, being Italian, offers his family's secret recipe on the spot. This wins Ethan more brownie points with Zoe. In gratitude, Ethan spares Guido's life.
You cut this guy loose in 2 hours.
He then updates Vivi. Based on what they now know, Ethan suspects the albino may be retreating from Paris due to financial troubles, giving them a rare chance to finally locate the wolf. Ethan exchanges the case and password for another dose of the medicine. The whole plan is to use the briefcase as bait to lure out the wolf. Back at the apartment, Jules' daughter gives birth to a healthy baby girl. Out of gratitude for Ethan allowing them to stay at his home, she names the child after him.
Tumia wants to call the baby Ethan. It's the name of a great man who didn't shoot us when he could, but instead gave us his hope.
Jules reminds Ethan that they will be leaving as promised, but Ethan insists they can stay as long as they want. However, Jules says the family prefers a smaller home to stay closer to each other.
It is good, as long as we are together.
Witnessing this scene reminds Ethan of his own daughter. He had missed her birth due to work. The moment fills him with mixed emotions. Later, when he returns to Tina's house, he learns that his daughter will be attending her boyfriend's family party the next day. She claims she can't dance, so Ethan offers to teach her how to.
I'm gonna teach you how to dance to your mother's favorite song.
Just then, Tina comes back and sees them dancing, moved to tears by the sight. That night, they have dinner together as a family. Afterwards, Tina tells Ethan that he should eventually tell Zoe about his condition. They end up sleeping together. In that subtle moment, it feels as if the three of them have returned to being a happy family once again. The next morning, now reconciled with his Tina, Ethan receives a lead from Vivi. The albino is set to appear at a hotel.
The albino is staying at the Grand Hotel.
As expected, not long after, the albino finally returns to Paris, and the long-hidden wolf finally resurfaces, whom he had encountered during a previous mission. Once the two get into Mitat's car and leave the hotel, Ethan quietly tails them and launches a surprise attack. A high-speed chase ensues. Ethan first takes out the only bodyguard, then suddenly disappears from sight. Meanwhile, Mitat, the driver, has already been turned by Ethan. He stops the car on a bridge, luring the others into a false sense of safety. Seizing the moment, Ethan slams into their vehicle, pushing it off the bridge. Mitat is severely injured, and Ethan spares him so he can return to his family. The others inside the car are unharmed. Once again, the albino and the wolf manage to escape. The wolf flees into a nearby metro station just as a train is about to depart, but the albino fails to catch up. At that moment, Ethan suddenly experiences hallucinations and begins to bleed from his nose, another side effect of the medicine. The albino, seizing the opportunity, appears and sees Ethan's weakened state. Under orders from the wolf to finish Ethan off, he gleefully pins Ethan's head against the tracks, intending to let him die in his favorite way. But the albino underestimates Ethan's strength. At the last second, Ethan musters all his energy to punch the albino in the throat and kicks him onto the tracks, ending him instead. The wolf immediately escapes. Ethan, physically spent, can only watch him disappear, using his last strength to call Vivi. When Ethan wakes again, he finds himself at a safe house. Though the mission wasn't fully completed, Vivi doesn't blame him. She brings good news. Tests have shown the medicine is working in Ethan's body. At that moment, Ethan receives a call from his ex-wife, reminding him to attend their daughter's boyfriend's party. Meanwhile, the wolf, realizing it's no longer safe to remain in Paris, orders his men to take him to his business partners in hopes of fleeing the city through their help. To everyone's shock, the moment the boyfriend's parents introduced their business partner, it turns out to be the wolf himself.
If it wasn't for this party, we might never have met.
Still, neither of them gives anything away, and they shake hands, feigning politeness while secretly preparing for action. Hugh's parents lead everyone into a club. Ethan, aware the wolf may target his daughter, keeps Zoe and Hugh together and watches the wolf's every move. His strange behavior quickly draws the attention of Tina, who realizes he's still working for the CIA.
You promised you'd keep your work away from us. You're probably not even sick.
She's deeply disappointed, but Ethan has no time to explain. The wolf sends someone to delay Ethan while he heads for the elevator to escape. After dispatching the attacker, Ethan knows he can't afford any more delays. He heads upstairs and takes down the wolf's bodyguards. Amid the chaos, the elevator is damaged and comes to a stop, trapping the wolf inside. Ethan shoots the cables, sending the elevator plummeting, but the wolf survives the fall. Meanwhile, Hugh and Zoe find a private room where they dance and share their first kiss. Ethan, after fighting his way past the guards, finally corners the wolf on the ground floor. Just then, the medicine's side effects hit again. He drops his gun, which the wolf reaches for, until Vivi enters and pushes it back to Ethan, urging him to finish the job.
Finish it.
But memories of his wife and daughter flood back. Choosing family over duty, he hesitates. In the end, Vivi pulls the trigger herself, ending the mission once and for all. In the end, Ethan is still living with Zoe in a house by the beach. He sets up a Christmas tree, something he once thought he'd never live to see. Tina arrives at the house, and Ethan sincerely apologizes for not always being there for her and Zoe. In another room, Ethan finds a box with a large syringe and a note from Vivi. Merry Christmas. Outside in the distance, Vivi quietly watches the family from afar. A new chapter of happiness is just beginning for Ethan,